everybody. Welcome back to Cast 11 and Power of the Mind with Granite Mountain Behavioral Healthcare. We've got Madi Isenberg here today, as always, and we're talking about self-care. Now, when I think self-care, I think, I'm going to take a bath and I'm going to have some bubbles and maybe an eye mask. It goes a little deeper than that.
Absolutely, it does.
So want to dive right in?
Yeah, for
All
sure.
Right. So my version and so other people's version's a little bit different. And maybe I need to rethink my version of self-care because we don't always take care of ourselves, right?
But the bubble bath is a great way for self-care. That is a self-care thing to do, taking care of yourself, spending that time in the bathtub alone, maybe reading that book, putting on those bubbles, maybe if you're not an alcoholic, having that wine. If you are, don't, But it's about taking that time away from the busyness of the world and giving yourself that undivided attention.
That's, it's crazy for me. Like my husband the other night, we just put in a bathtub and he was in the bath for like 2 hours, listening to music, alone with his thoughts and just having the best time ever. And I went and checked on him because I'd watched a whole movie and I'm like, and I went and checked and he's still in the bathtub and he's still just chilling. And he's like, you good? And he's drinking a beer and he's just happy as a clam. I cannot stay in the bath more than 20 minutes without, I put a TV in there, which is probably maybe not the best thing to do, but it does bring me joy. And they're like $80 now for like a 32-inch TV. So it's not like a big frivolous thing, but I have a hard time shutting down, like silence or to sit in the bathtub for half an hour with nothing but my thoughts. Are you kidding me? I can't do it. I'm watching How I Met Your Mother. I got through 2 episodes. I'm like, okay, I got to go. So first of all, how can I do self-care? Because I just don't stop ever. My brain never stops.
So the TV, taking a minute out from your busyness of your schedule and just watching it, turning down your mind where you can just watch TV and tune it out. That's a great way to do it too.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be wrong or right way for self-care. It's like self and then care. How can you give yourself that care that you need? It can be having a Snickers bar. It can be as far as going to the gym, right? Or it can be going to get your nails done. Or it can simply be reading a book. There's so many ways. It's just making sure that you're showing up for you and giving yourself that care that you deserve. Because with the world as busy as it gets, it's easy to forget that you are a priority. It's easy to forget that you matter. And it's easy to forget that my needs need to be just as important as the needs of those I love.
So I was talking to my daughter and she'll show up at events and most of the time she looks pretty well put together. But I remember, I had 5 kids. I have 5 kids. And so anytime I would show up anywhere, my kids were on point and I looked like a bag lady. The hair was crazy because who has time? Because if you take the time to take that shower and do your hair, everything you've just done for the kids is messed up. Mm-hmm. And if it means getting up an hour early, I just don't have, I'd rather sleep for an hour, focus on the kids, and then you get what you get. But look how cute my kids are. Mm-hmm. So I think as moms, that self-care to me when I was a mom, my kids are all grown and still it's hard to find that time for yourself. But moms, come on.
Oh, it's so hard. Think about it. I was watching this TikTok and it's just funny. I'll bring it up. It says, it's a little meme and he's like, what I ask my mom is comparison to what I ask my dad. He's like, Mom, what are we doing? Mom, where are you at? Mom, what are you cooking? Mom, what are we going to make for dinner? Mom, what shirt should I wear? Mom, what do you want for a snack? Dad, where's mom?
Where's mom?
100%.
Because you look over, especially in those early years with the kids, you look over and I think it's a little better now in most households. But, when we were growing up, one, self-care was not a word that anybody used. It was just, and especially I'm sure my mom wasn't, thinking about self-care. And, I just remember you're packing for vacation. You're making sure the reservations are in. You're making sure that we've got snacks for the car and and you look at your husband. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, man, I can't remember did you pack my socks? It's like, yeah, I packed your socks. Like, are we ready? And he's like, we got to hit the road. It's like, oh my gosh, just for once, do some of this.
Yes.
But I'm a control freak with that kind of stuff. So my husband is the one that's like, where are we going? Oh, we're going on vacation. Where are we going? We're just get in the car. I've got all the reservations laid out, but you never think about taking care of yourself. And I mean, dads too. I mean, there's a lot of dads too that my husband, I tried to get him to go get I got him to do one pedicure and he'll never go back, but I did get him to do one, but men are probably the worst at self-care.
Oh yeah. Especially because what the beliefs are, think about it. The beliefs are worse. If someone spends that time where they could be doing something else, the
Guilt.
belief is that guilt that comes up, the belief is I'm selfish, right? Like, how dare I spend this $60 on my nails when my daughter needs this? Or I'd rather buy this present for my daughter than go get my hair cut.
Yeah. Guilt is real.
Guilt is so real. And it's, it's engraved of where it's almost, people have to put on that face so often of show up, dress up, game on, right? It's so easy to pretend that your needs don't matter. But look at what happens when you don't pay attention to them. It catches up with you. That exhaustion, eventually you're going to lose your crap. Eventually you're going to scream at the kids. You're going to feel guilty about that.
Good point.
It's self-care is prevention.
That's a really good point. Because I remember I was pregnant with our third child. Now keep in mind, by the time I was 20, I had 3 kids and we'd been married 2 years. So life at that time, we had no money. We were fighting all the time and we were tired. I was a CNA making $6 an hour, working my tail off, paying daycare for 3 kids. But I remember being pregnant with my third child and I took a nap during the day with my kids awake. And I remember that nap because it was so out of the ordinary to do, even though pregnant with my third child, raising a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And it was just, moms don't do that. I take naps all the time now because again, I don't have kids anymore. So, young kids at home. So naps are glorious. It's just what I do. But young moms stressed out, working, trying to, young dads. And so easy, go get your nails done, go get this done. But what about when self-care needs to be a little deeper?
Well, I think when it needs to be deeper, it's like, I said it was prevention. Now it's like, all right, crap, we're on fire. Now that you're on fire, you've got to get water to put yourself out, right? So it's like, how do you do that? Well, I think it's about checking in with yourself and really being honest with where you're at. Really being honest of like, hey, I can't fold another towel today. I'm exhausted. And it's asking yourself, what do I need? Because the majority of the time, we're not checking in with ourselves. We're not asking ourselves, what do we need?
You brought up a good point with the fire. The first time I met Ben at Granite Mountain, I was talking to him and this is when all of this was getting, kind of born. We were talking about all of this. And he said, I like to think of Granite Mountain Behavioral Healthcare as, think about the burning building. When it's engulfed in flames, there is nothing you can do but sit back and watch it burn. If you can smell the smoke, if you can see the spark and you get help or you stop and just take a minute for yourself, you catch that building before the flames. And I will never forget that's been probably 4 or 5 years ago that we had that conversation. And that is by far the best analogy I've ever heard in my whole life with that. It's like, once the building's engulfed, it's not too late, but it's going to be so hard.
So much harder.
And what can you salvage when it's in flames like that?
I mean, I think about when I had 3 kids, 3 and under, right? It's like, if I didn't give myself that time to sleep when I needed to sleep, sometimes it was sleep over cleaning the house. Sometimes it was sleep over going to get my hair done. Sometimes it was sleep over the nails or whatever. It was making sure I was getting my basic needs met so I could carry on to do the towels, to do the laundry. Because if I'm not showing up my best version of myself and I'm standing in my own way, I've got to look in the mirror and ask myself, what do I need right now? And it's checking in with yourself repetitively, asking yourself those hard questions. What's going on with me? Sometimes what you need is going to be different from what I need versus what you need. But it's being okay and being honest with yourself, back to thy known self be true, giving yourself those breaks. I remember when I was going through cancer treatment and I had a full thyroidectomy and my family came to help me. And I remember feeling bad that my mom was having to watch my kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, good golly, lady, you
Mm-hmm.
had cancer. Give yourself a break, right? But we as moms, as people, as humans are so critical of ourselves and recognizing, hey, we're not invincible.
Right.
That's the reality. And the reality is, if we're not invincible, what do we need to keep our superpowers going?
Yeah. Well, and you're in the middle of it, right? You've got kids and you're running all the time and doing your thing. And, I've got work and cheer, and then my home life is pretty mellow. But I want people to hear me when I say, because my kids are grown now, nobody talks about, they'll joke about it like our house was a wreck. Like I was raising 5 kids and working full time. They don't care.
Mm-hmm.
They would be like, oh, remember? Like, and my kids will tell me, I used to throw the dishes away rather than wash them. It's like they don't care that the house is a mess. They'll laugh about it, but they remember I was their cheer coach when they were little. They remember I used to take my 8 hours of PTO time and break it up into 2 hours so that I could always be at my daughter's softball games. And so those are the things, if you can, if you're a mom and you're going through it, your kids don't care.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to remember that, their beds were made every morning. They're not going to remember that, our house was always spotless, and they won't care. And if they remember, they won't care.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be my mom showed up. My mom was always happy. My mom was in a good mood. And my mom rarely lost her shit because she took care of herself.
Yeah.
And she took her time, so, if that's one thing you can take of, raising children, don't sweat those small things. Just take time for yourself, because they don't care.
Let the house be dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you need to do to be okay. Take that pottery class. Go to the gym. Do what you need to do to be okay, because those kids want the best version of you.
Take that little overnight with the husband too, because it's everything in our younger years of marriage revolved around the kids. It was like what do you want to do for our anniversary? Well, we can go to Disneyland and we'll get the room at the hotel. So the kids, and everything was around the kids. And it was about 10 years into the marriage, 12 years into the marriage. It was like, we need to take one night away once in a while, just to get away and remember who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll tell you, once those kids are gone, you better know the guy that you're married to, because now it's just him and I, and it's like, hey, what are you doing? And it's still, it's good. But, my world was my children when we were growing up. So, and that's great. But remember the guy you're married to too, and remember yourself.
Absolutely. And I think people often forget what people say and forget what people do, but they don't forget how people made them feel.
Yeah.
And I think us showing up for our kids, giving them a B version, we're going to get B results.
Yeah.
And I think if we give ourselves that chance to engage in self-care practices and give yourself this opportunity to where you can bring that spark back, either in your marriage or even for you, go get that extra mascara. Girl, do what you need to do. Get those lashes. But give yourself that opportunity to be okay. And the first step is recognizing when you're not okay, and being honest about it.
I would even think of talking to a therapist as self-care.
Absolutely, it's self-care. Someone to bounce ideas with, someone who's going to think logically and tell you if your perspective is a little skewed.
Because I always think we hear therapy. Oh, I'm in therapy. Yikes. What happened to her? Like, she's in therapy. Can you imagine? So I think that more, especially now, people, it's okay to be in therapy. I go to therapy. This is my therapy session. So I don't even have to leave my house anymore to go to therapy. But it is that opportunity to just talk to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Because how often in our lives are we really heard?
How often do you get to Dear Diary somebody and not be judged for it?
Good point. Because I think at art, people journal, but to really be able to talk it out. Because I think even journaling, are you really honest with journaling? Because what if somebody finds your journal?
Yeah.
Somebody because you're going to die one day and your kids are going to find your journal. So
yeah,
they're like, oh my God, Mom, what were you thinking? But your therapist is a great person to such a good way of saying that. Dear Diary.
Yeah. Let someone be that diary, let someone. And especially because when you're allowing somebody to, figuratively, when you're allowing yourself to be naked with somebody, you have those answers already within you. But the therapist can be your guide to help you find those answers. But you have them within you. And sometimes it's about just reminding yourself, having somebody to remind you where you came from or who you are to bounce back.
Yeah, to be the best version of yourself always. So self-care, any way you want to do it. It's for me, I need distraction. And so that works for me, but at least I'm not thinking about the 174 things that need to get done today. Be there for your kids. Make sure that you're let the house slide once in a while. It's okay to be imperfect and let people see that, but it's also okay to be selfish and take that time for yourself.
Absolutely. Perfectly imperfect. Allow yourself to be imperfect and embrace that imperfection.
Love it. So take care of yourself. Take care of yourself so you can continue taking care of everybody else, but take that time. Well, Madi, thank you so much. And thanks for reminding me that I'm not doing it wrong. If I'm in the bath, it's a good thing, no matter what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
Even if I'm checking emails at the same time. But thank you so much. And thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Power of the Mind with Granite Mountain Behavioral Healthcare.